A lot of us are told to only focus on blood sugar. If blood sugar looks normal, then we're good. But that isn't the full story. There are foods, some of them are even labeled as healthy, low carb, even keto, that don't raise your blood sugar at all, but that still trigger insulin. And if you're dealing with insulin resistance, prediabetes, or stubborn belly fat that won't budge, that spike in insulin can silently work against you. I see this all of the time. People cutting carbs, doing all of the seemingly right things, but they're still stuck. And it's not their fault. Most people don't understand how insulin actually works and why it matters even more than blood sugar does in some ways. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down 5 sneaky foods that could be hindering your results, even if your glucose monitor says everything's fine. Some of these might surprise you. And I can almost guarantee that at least one of them is in your kitchen right now. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm Kait, a nutritionist who specializes in insulin resistance and blood sugar control. I have helped hundreds of clients reverse insulin resistance, prediabetes, and PCOS naturally, without restrictive diets or extreme measures. And I've seen firsthand how tricky insulin can be, even for those who have seemingly good blood sugar. So let's dive straight into it, with probably the most sneaky food that you don't realize could be spiking your insulin, and that's diet soda. Now on paper, it looks perfect, right? 0 sugar, 0 calories, and still tastes pretty good. You'd think it has no effect on your metabolism at all, but here's the twist. Even though it doesn't spike blood sugar, it can still spike insulin. And no, I'm not saying that to scare you. There's actually science behind it. When you drink these artificial sweeteners that taste sweet, yes, they don't contain any sugar, but your brain doesn't know that. It tastes the sweetness and it anticipates that there's sugar coming in, so it releases insulin. Your body responds with what is called the cephalic phase insulin release. Basically, it's getting a head start. Your brain signals to your pancreas, hey, there's sugar coming. Let's get the insulin ready. But what it doesn't know is that there's actually no sugar in the drink at all. It's like prepping for a fire that never actually happens. So blood sugar stays steady, but insulin spikes behind the scenes. And if you're someone dealing with insulin resistance or stubborn weight you can't lose, this matters a lot. Because the goal isn't just to keep glucose in check. The real key to reversing insulin resistance is keeping your insulin levels low and steady over time. Now, I'm not saying that 1 can of diet soda here and there is going to ruin your progress. This isn't about perfection. But if you're drinking diet soda every day, you might be unknowingly keeping your insulin levels elevated all day long. And that's the exact opposite of what we want if we're trying to restore insulin sensitivity, lose fat, and support metabolic health. Now, number 2, this one might surprise you, and this is the one that you almost certainly have in your fridge, and that's lean chicken breast. This is one of the fitness world's favorite foods. And don't get me wrong, chicken breast is an excellent source of protein. It's a complete protein source containing all of the amino acids your body needs. But here's what most people don't realize. When you eat very lean protein on its own, like chicken breast, it can spike your insulin, and sometimes a lot. But why does this happen? Because typically we associate insulin spikes with blood sugar spikes and with carbohydrates and sugar. But protein? How does this make sense? A moderate insulin response to protein is actually normal, and it's not a bad thing. We actually need insulin to shuttle amino acids into our muscles after we eat. But when you strip away the fat, which naturally slows digestion and moderates the insulin release, the spike becomes sharper. And here's the kicker. In people who are already insulin resistant, when they have lean protein like this, the spike is even bigger. And sometimes a bit of that protein can actually be converted to glucose and cause your blood sugar to go up as well. Now, we don't see this in people who are metabolically healthy, only those who are insulin resistant and only when they have lean protein on their own. And this is why I always say to pair your protein with fat. Fat slows down digestion, it keeps your blood sugar stable, and helps your body respond more gently to protein. So instead of plain chicken breast, go for chicken thighs, drumsticks, skin on, or even just cook it in olive oil, butter, or ghee. Not only does it taste better this way, but it's metabolically smarter. Now, a quick reminder, insulin spikes are not inherently bad. It's not about avoiding insulin altogether. That's impossible, and that's not the goal. The problem is when insulin is chronically elevated all day, which is what drives insulin resistance, weight gain, and even type 2 diabetes. Carbohydrates spike blood sugar and insulin, and that's why cutting down or being smart about carbs helps to reverse insulin resistance. And yes, protein does raise insulin too, and especially when it's lean. But here's the difference. We can't cut protein out of our diet. If you go too low on protein, your health will suffer. You'll lose muscle mass, your bones will weaken, your metabolism will slow down, and honestly, you'll just feel like garbage. So yes, we do want to keep insulin low in order to reverse insulin resistance, but if we're being smart about carbohydrates and limiting them where we can, then the insulin response we get from protein isn't going to be a concern. The solution isn't to avoid protein, it's just to eat it in the right way. Pair it with fat, make your meals more balanced, and don't fear those slightly fattier cuts of meat. They're often better for your blood sugar and insulin. Number 3 is another one that might surprise you, and that's egg whites. And yep, it's basically the same story as chicken breast here. Egg whites are basically pure protein. No fat, no fiber, and when you eat them on their own, like an egg white omelet or in a protein pancake, you're setting yourself up for the same issue as with lean chicken, a more exaggerated insulin spike. Now, contrast that with a whole egg. The yolk is where all the nutrients are. Choline, B vitamins, selenium, fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, and especially fat. Studies have shown that whole eggs actually promote better blood sugar control and satiety than egg whites alone, especially in insulin-resistant individuals. So let's just call it what it is. The egg white era was a lie. It came from that low-fat diet culture that told us fat was the enemy and cholesterol was scary, but we know better now. Side note on cholesterol, even the US dietary guidelines, which previously said to limit dietary cholesterol, removed it as a nutrient of concern in 2015. Since then, and that was 10 years ago, there has not been an upper limit on how much dietary cholesterol is bad. And that's because it's not. But we still have this fear around it. The yolk isn't dangerous. It's actually beneficial, and in more ways than one. Your metabolism will thank you for eating the whole egg. And it tastes better as well. So next time you go to make breakfast, don't throw out the yolk. Your hormones, your energy, your blood sugar will be better off for it. Number 4 is protein bars. And this one you'll see everywhere, especially in the health food aisle. Now, I'm not saying that all protein bars are bad. There are a few brands out there that are okay, but the vast majority of them, they're sweetened with artificial sweeteners, which we've already spoken about. Once again, this can trigger insulin just from the sweet taste, especially when paired with protein. And another downside is that they're often ultra-processed and contain gut-disrupting fibers like inulin or IMO. These can cause bloating and inflammation in sensitive people. So what you end up with is a seemingly low-carb snack that doesn't spike blood sugar, but it's spiking your insulin. And beyond raising your insulin, it's also going to increase cravings and leave you wondering why you're not losing weight on a low-carb diet. So instead of grabbing these bars when you're looking for a protein source, try one of these options instead. A boiled egg and some olives, a couple of beef sticks and a small piece of cheese. Or if you do want a little bit of sweetness, make your own low insulin treats using collagen, coconut oil, and dark chocolate. Don't let the packaging fool you. If something says low carb or keto, that doesn't mean it's healthy, and especially if you're insulin resistant. And finally, number 5 is branched chain amino acids and amino acid supplements in general. Now, it's not technically a food, but I am going to include it here because, again, this one surprises a lot of people. If you've ever fasted or worked out in the morning and sipped on some BCAAs, thinking you were staying in the fasted state, this one's for you. Branched chain amino acids like leucine, isoleucine, and valine raise insulin a lot. In fact, leucine can spike insulin almost as much as glucose. But why does that happen? It's because it's trying to drive muscle growth and recovery, which is great in the right context, but not so much if you're trying to keep your insulin levels low. So while these are popular in the fitness world, especially among people doing intermittent fasting, they can absolutely disrupt the fasted state metabolically. You're technically not eating, but your insulin response says otherwise. Now, if you're an elite athlete doing 2 sessions a day, then yes, they can be beneficial in that context. But if you're someone who's trying to reverse insulin resistance, better control your blood sugar, bring your fasting blood sugar down, lose excess body fat, then you are definitely better off without them. Instead, hydrate with electrolytes during your fast. Ones without added sugar or artificial sweeteners. I mention them all the time because I absolutely love them and the people behind the company are great. But Sode's everyday hydration salts, they're my go-to. No sugar, no artificial sweetener. They don't break a fast. They don't raise insulin. They actually contain a good amount of electrolytes. Stick to having those during your fasting window instead. Okay, so we've covered a lot in today's video. Let's quickly recap the 5 sneaky foods that could be raising your insulin. Number 1 is diet soda. Number 2 is lean chicken breast. Number 3 is egg whites. Number 4 is protein bars with artificial sweeteners. And number 5 is branched chain amino acids. Now remember, insulin isn't the enemy. It's a normal hormone and we need it to function. But when it's chronically elevated all day long, that's when we run into problems. Insulin resistance, stubborn weight gain, it can cause the growth of skin tags, it causes fatigue and cravings throughout the day. And ultimately, if left unaddressed, it will progress to prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. So the goal isn't to never spike insulin. The goal is to spike it less often and less aggressively, and spend more time throughout the day in a low insulin state. And that's why little changes like pairing protein with fat, choosing whole foods over processed ones, and being intentional with what you drink and supplement can make a huge difference over time. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Did any of these foods surprise you? Let me know the one that surprised you the most in the comments down below. And if you did enjoy this video, if you found it helpful, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I post videos 2 to 3 times per week, talking all things blood sugar, weight loss, insulin resistance, intermittent fasting, autophagy, all the good stuff I'm sure you want to know more about. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. And if you want to go deeper into reversing insulin resistance and optimizing blood sugar, make sure to check out my 3-day blood sugar reset. This will give you a step-by-step plan and meal plan to get started. I'll link it on the screen right now and in the description box down below. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.